Thank you. I apologize for the delay, so thank you for your cooperation. Before I forget, Mrs. Maloney's second period English class, after the assembly, you need to report to Mrs. McGuan's room to vote for class officers, okay, so before I forget. Okay, we have a great opportunity this morning, so I want you to listen carefully to the message, because it's an awesome message. And I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to introduce the Vice President of Generations Bank, who will take it over from here. And I'd like to introduce you to Katie McIntyre. Katie?
Okay, can you hear me? Good morning. So, first of all, special thanks to Mike Ferreira, Terry Davis, and Dan Hacker for helping us get everything organized for today. So let's give them a round of applause for all their help. And it's really good to be here today. So as Mike said, my name is Katie McIntyre. I'm the marketing officer for Generations Bank, and I also work with the race committee for the Right to Run 19K 5K, which is really the exciting part of this week. It happens this Saturday, but a few things that'll happen before then. We have Kathrine Switzer, who's our national spokesperson, here with us today to speak with you. And in case you didn't know, we have over 800 people signed up for the race, which is happening this Saturday. So there's still time for you all to decide if you want to run, walk, or volunteer for the race. So please consider it and sign up. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the background. So 2 years ago, we started to plan the Right to Run event. And last year, we were able to bring Kathrine to share her message with over 1,000 students from 3rd grade to 12th grade. And we're slated to do that again this year. And we're starting today with all of you. So for me, you never know the moment or the story which can change somebody's life. And it was really important for me to make sure as many students had the opportunity to hear Kathrine's story. So I'm very pleased to introduce Menzo Case, who will tell you a little bit more about the background of our event.
Well, good morning. There's so many kids here. I didn't realize how many went to Waterloo High School, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate you attending this morning's assembly. I went up to another town, and it's funny about the towns in our upstate region, they're all famous for something. I went to Medina yesterday, and they're famous for sandstone. And it's Sonnenberg Gardens in Rochester out that way. It's built from sandstone. And then, of course, Waterloo is famous for Memorial Day, exactly. And Seneca Falls is famous for a convention that occurred in 1848. And it's so important that we remember our history. And women did not have the right to vote until the 19th Amendment. And this year, in 1917, New York State recognized the right of women to vote. And we're celebrating a 100-year centennial this year of that. And in 1920, we'll celebrate the 19th Amendment, which gave women, or actually recognized the right of women to vote. And it's a really big deal. And we put together this run to commemorate that event. And we want to also empower women to do as much as they can and just live the dream that they have in their little heads and press forward and be just as much as they can be. You know, our history in Generations Bank, our first president, Jacob Chamberlain, was there at the convention in 1848 and signed the Declaration of Sentiments. And since then, we've been a big supporter of the National Women's Hall of Fame, which this race benefits. So I could go on and on with all the history. I hope that you take the opportunity to volunteer, if not participate in the 5K and 19K this year. And if you do volunteer, certainly come by the stop, the race finish, and see the work that's been done in the Seneca Falls knitting mill. this also has a place in history. I just recently went to Washington, D.C., and I picked up a picture of a knitting mill with piles and piles of socks that are being put together by women that did not have the right to vote. It's just, it blows my mind. And now we've taken over this knitting mill in Seneca Falls, and it's going to be the home for the National Women's Hall of Fame. And I think that's just wonderful, because it's so ironic that these ladies that built that business are now going to be honored among other women that did great things. And speaking of great things, without sponsorship, without the partnership of other organizations, we just wouldn't be able to put on things like this event, and one that's coming up right around the corner, the Memorial Day Celebrate, Commemorate. So I'd like to introduce one of our sponsors for today, Seneca Metals, and representing them, Mark Benjamin.
Thank you, Mr. Case, and thank you all for being here this morning. Seneca Meadows is pleased to partner with the 19K organization and to provide you with this opportunity this morning. So thank you and welcome.
This time I'd like to ask two students to join me at the podium. Courtney Page and Milla Turner, both runners, and they're here to present themselves. And you're going to introduce Kathrine. There you go.
Kathrine Switzer is many things: an athlete, author, spokeswoman, commentator, and advocate. She earned her bachelor's in journalism and English, as well as her master's from Syracuse University. But she will always be best known as the woman who in 1967 challenged the all-male tradition of the Boston Marathon and became the first woman to officially enter and run the event. Her entry garnered worldwide attention when a race official tried to forcibly remove her from the competition. This was captured in a photo that became one of Time Life's 100 photos that changed the world.
Kathrine has run 40 marathons, won the 1974 New York City Marathon and the 1975. Her 2-hour, 51-minute marathon in Boston was ranked 6th in the world and 3rd in the US. She is still running today. In fact, she and a team of 120 women and men representing 20 countries and her nonprofit 261 Fearless just ran the 50th anniversary of that 1967 at the Boston Marathon last month.
Having been denied many athletic opportunities herself, Kathrine is a tireless advocate for female athletes, and after organizing a global series of 400 women's races in 27 countries, she was instrumental in making the women's marathon an official event in the Olympic Games, first staged in 1984 in Los Angeles. She has advocated for women's sports participation throughout the world and continues today with the creation of the 261 Fearless Incorporated nonprofit, a global movement that empowers women through the vehicle of running.
She has won several Emmys for her sports commentary. She has authored hundreds of articles and 3 books and is frequently interviewed about her marathon experience and her focus on female athlete advocacy.
She's earned more awards than I can name, but a few highlights are being named Runner of the Decade and one of 4 Visionaries of the Century by Runner's World magazine and an honor fellow from the National Association of Girls and Women in Sports. Similarly, she is in several halls of fame, including the National Distance Running Hall of Fame, the International Scholar Athlete Hall of Fame, and the National Women's Hall of Fame. The latter is not for running, but for changing women's lives.
But who could introduce her better than Meryl Streep? Take a look at this.
A field of 601 starters braved chilly winds and a steady drizzle in the 71st Boston Marathon.
The 1967 Boston Marathon was run in some of the worst conditions in race history. While While most of the crowd was focused on the front of the pack, another runner was making a stir far behind.
The idea of running long distance was always considered very questionable for women because, you know, an arduous activity would mean that you're going to get big legs and grow a mustache and hair on your chest and your uterus was going to fall out.
In 1967, Kathrine Switzer was a junior at Syracuse University. Because Syracuse had no women's track team, she began training with the manager of the men's team, a part-time mailman named Arnie Briggs.
It was Arnie who told me about the greatest day in his life every year, which was the Boston Marathon. And we were out running, and Arnie began telling me another Boston Marathon story. And I said, oh, Arnie, let's just quit talking about the darn marathon and run it. And my dream then became to prove that I could run 26 miles, 385 yards.
For 70 years, the Boston Marathon had excluded women. But Switzer entered using just her initials.
We walked to the start, and the gun went off, and down the street we went. So there we were, Arnie Briggs, the 50-year-old mailman, and me, the 20-year-old college student, and my boyfriend Tom Miller, the ex-All-American football player. When other runners would come by, they would say, oh, it's a girl! And they were so excited. And all of a sudden, the press truck is in front of us, and they're taking, pictures of us. On this truck was the race director, the feisty guy by the name of Jock Semple. He just stopped the bus, jumped off, and ran after me. And he just grabbed me and screamed at me, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers. He had the fiercest face of any guy I'd ever seen. And all of a sudden, Big Tom, my boyfriend, came with a streak and gave Jock the most incredible crossbody blow and sent Jock flying right through the air and landed on the curb. And all of this happened in front of the press truck. Journalists got very aggressive. What are you trying to prove? Are you a suffragette? Are you a crusader? Whatever that is, And I said, what? I'm just trying to run. Then it got very quiet. Snow's coming down. Nobody's saying anything. And I turned to Arnie and I said, Arnie, I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to. If I don't finish this race, then everybody's going to believe women can't do it. I've got to finish this race. I finished that race in 4 hours, 20 minutes. It wasn't until we stopped on the thruway to get an ice cream and some coffee that we see the newspapers and the coverage front and back of all the different editions with the pictures. I realized that now this was very, very important, and this was going to change my life, and it was probably going to change women's sports. There is an expression in a marathon that you do go through sort of a lifetime of experience. And I often say that I started the Boston Marathon as a girl, and I finished the Boston Marathon as a grown woman. Yay! Yay!
I am so happy to be here today, honestly, and I'm so glad that this video ended on Awakenings.